Hey folks, it's Rob Flux here with another Real Deal in the Field. I'm here with Peter Gilmer, one of my former students, with a 1:13 Lot Land Subdivision. First of all, mate, high five on that one.
Thank you.
So 1:13, folks. We're going to find out all about it. Now, it's a beautiful sunny day in downtown Brisbane, so in the suburb of Wishart. So a little bit hard to see the real deal with the brollies. So let's just pan back and so what does a 13 lot land subdivision look like when it's mid-flight? And at the moment, clearly a whole bunch of mud and dirt and debris and that sort of thing. No activity because of the rain. And I think we're going to get very muddy shoes.
Not wearing the right shoes, are we?
Not wearing the right shoes, but that's okay. Mate, how did you find the deal? 1:13. You're based in Sydney, and I guess you're trying to do this deal here in Brisbane. How did you find the deal? And then I guess keen to find out how you ran it.
Sure. Thanks, Rob. So I've always been developing Brisbane. This is my fourth development.
Fourth project, 1:13.
I love developing Brisbane. I came across the site in real estate. The agent was running a silent campaign. It had gotten approved DA, which was fantastic, but there was a number of problems with the DA, which I'll talk about with you later. Quite a competitive tender. She ran a silent auction, did a great job. I was saying to you, Rob, that we got down to the final two bidders, but we had to remove all of our conditions, unfortunately. And at the very last minute, we were outbid by another bidder who came in extremely strong. So lucky we came back to our numbers, went back in quite aggressively with our price and terms, and won the deal, which was great. I'm really happy.
Very good. Now, you mentioned it already had a development approval in place, but it was a terrible development approval. So it was also a 1:13. So what were some of the issues that you saw on that approval? And then what did you do about that?
Sure. So it was one of the problems with removing all the conditions. We knew there was problems with the existing DA. It included where, this is, as I said, 13 lots. Some of the lots had a really small building footprint. So you might have been a 350 square meter piece of land, but unfortunately...
The usable element was terrible.
That's right. And it was mainly because there was trees that the council wanted to be retained. In fact, it was so bad, one of the lots didn't have a driveway into it. So they had a 1,000 square meter piece of land. They had a building area of about 150 square meters, but no driveway because there's two trees in front. The other problem was one of the lots had to be reserved for a refuse truck turning, because this actually road, Catania Street, runs right through this whole lot. And through this lot here on the other side that you can see, that's 15,000 square meters of land over there. They've actually got an approved DA. This road runs all the way through their land. So until they develop it, this lot here on number 7 has to be retained for a refuse truck, which the council were absolutely adamant we needed to keep. So we recognized that if we can remove the building area restrictions and get those trees removed, put a driveway into that lot, we were okay with keeping that lot 7. I mean, that's the whole part of your teaching, is to try and retain. So luckily we went back to council and they agreed with our proposal.
Very good. So there's a couple of other issues and challenges we're going to look at, including some biodiversity issues and that sort of thing. We're going to pop up the back, have a look at that, and including a story about a koala, folks. So stay tuned to that. We'll see you in 10 seconds. Back again, folks. We're going to run the gauntlet with no umbrellas. Otherwise, there's nothing to see other than the back of an umbrella. So here we are at the back of the block. We're adjacent to a creek, and there was a little bit of a biodiversity overlay on this one, which caused a couple of challenges with some trees. So give us some insights into what happened there.
Yeah, so as part of, I guess, the subdivision, we were removing some biodiversity, which I hadn't been aware in our fees of, but the council wanted an offset payment for that. Land up being around $150,000, which is quite substantial. We did try to challenge it because actually all down in this creek, there's nothing but weeds and not native species. There are some native trees, but we're rehabilitating this whole area as part of the subdivision, including planting 6,000 new species of shrubs, trees, everything.
6,000 folks.
Yeah. We did try to go back to council and say, look, because we're doing all this rehab work, can you please forgive the tree offset? But unfortunately not.
Yeah, so just for the uninitiated out there, a biodiversity offset is one of those ones that is what you call an aspirational overlay. It doesn't matter what's there right now, whether it's rubbish or otherwise, but they want you to actually reinstate it back to its what should be its former health. So that's the gotcha on that one, mate.
That's right.
But good news is feasibility still had plenty of room to actually capture all of that, and you got a good outcome. 6,000 new trees is quite a bit, so it's going to look really nice.
It looked really nice, and that was the advantage because we've got a house over on this side and we've got some houses here, so this is their backdrop. So it added so much value to the houses.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's a 1 into 13 property, folks, and for those of you who've been watching me for quite some time, we've got a magic formula, which is if you have 6 properties and you sell 5, you can keep 1. Now, 13, how did that actually work out, mate? So you didn't quite get 2 out of this. What actually happened?
Well, unfortunately, as part of the DA, one of the lots had to be reserved because this neighbouring land here will be developed at some point, and the road that comes over into the block will be extended all the way through. But in the meantime, the council have asked for one of the lots to be reserved as a turning circle for the refuse truck.
So it is still there and it is still free, but
free.
it's kind of...
It's an easement over.
It's temporary until that road goes through. So in 4 years, 5 years time, you will get that free block back.
That's right.
But it's kind of trapped for the moment. But the other part of this is you actually sold 6 of the lots to a developer along the way. So they get to keep 1. You actually still get 2, but 1 is kind of parked for a little while, yeah?
That's right, that's right. And we sold 6 actually before we settled on the land to another developer because we recognized it was going to de-risk the project considerably. It also meant that we can go to a commercial bank, so Westpac, our financier on this subdivision, lower interest rates, de-risk the project. There was a lot of advantages. But part of the agreement that we made with the developer is we would commit to actually building on these lots with this other developer to create what we call Wishart Heights, which is the name of the estate. So effectively we're building an estate called Wishart Heights, and the build's going to start in May of this year. Fingers crossed.
Fantastic outcome.
Stops raining.
When it stops raining. So that's the other trick, folks. If you're going to be keeping my 1 in 6 rule, land, if you sell as land, you'll get to keep the land for free, but land doesn't generate rent. So when you're building 6 houses, you're going to get to keep a house on that land. So fantastic outcome, mate.
Yep.
Now, we've got another challenge that we got up the other side of the road here. So we're going to try and navigate the mud. Look what we did to our boots, folks. It's a beautiful day. Whoa! It's a beautiful day here. But as Peter's come all the way from Sydney to do this real deal, we're going to push through. So see you in a sec, folks. Hey, folks, we're going to have a look at an issue with the tree that Peter had with regards to a road that needed to come through. But before we get there, mate, you touched on it really, really quickly at the opening. This is only deal number 4 for you, and it's a 1 into 13. So how do you, I guess, step up that quickly? How do you get the confidence in order to do that?
This is going to sound like a plug, but really it was down to the course, particularly the mindset course. That was probably one of the biggest things I took from the course is, you know, I kept saying to myself sometimes, like, why can't I scale up? Like, I kept hearing myself saying no. So the mindset 2-day course was absolutely fantastic. But then also, the reason why I'm doing this today is the real deals. I've watched every single real deal for the last 2-3 years, sometimes twice, 3 times, and just seeing, I guess, aspiring developers scale up quickly, and it's just about understanding the risks involved and making sure they're mitigated, but not having your mind to take over and say, I can't do this, you know.
And there's plenty of lessons in all of those real deals. We've been doing those for 11 and a half years, folks. Every week we run a real deal in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide. So if you haven't seen one, make sure you actually come to one of those. But thank you, mate. Appreciate the gesture on that. That said, we want to talk about the end of the road.
That's right.
There's 2 straggly trees that we can see up the back there, mate. Now, this road is going to another development site next door. So, and yet those trees are in the way. So what's the story there?
Yeah, so we discovered at operational work stage that unfortunately there was a conflict between the engineering plans and some trees that were identified in the survey that were actually protected, council protected. And we needed a NAL permit to work within those trees.
So I'll just clarify, a NAL permit, so it's a Brisbane City Council only term, so natural assets, local law. So basically they're saying the trees were protected, folks. Yeah.
So it meant that the tree couldn't come all the way to the boundary because the trees and the roots are actually within inside our land. So therefore we needed permission to get the trees removed. Now, as it transpires, these neighbours have got a DA and those 2 trees are nominated to be removed, but they hadn't supported our request to remove the trees. I don't think they've any intention of developing for a long time. We went back and forth and it was still no. Eventually we realised that would be a disadvantage to them as well, that we would have to basically adjust our DA to show the road shortened. to basically just be outside their boundary. That would create future headaches for them in the sense of that could possibly be an easement that the future developer of that land would have to deal with. So I think they came around, and in the end, we agreed that, look, what if we get an arborist to come in, look how we can keep the trees, cut the roots, and we all win. And in the end, they agreed with that, but it took quite a bit of a process. But in the end, it was better than going back and revising a DA and having a shortened road because, as I said, we've got a house coming off there, would have impacted the driveway. So it was a good outcome.
Yeah, so all about solving problems, folks. Now, Peter, thank you for sharing your deal today. You've flown up there from Sydney just for recording of this today. And as I said, beautiful day. It has actually cleared up at the moment. So just in time for you to get back on a plane and go home.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they'll let you through international interstate customs with that amount of mud, mate.
Good plan, though. I brought a spare pair.
But looking forward to seeing, I guess, the full story in an upcoming Real Deal, which will actually be presented in Brisbane, even though Peter is from Sydney. So, mate, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rob. Appreciate it. Thanks to you.
Folks, if you want to come to a meetup, make sure you click on the links below, and we'll see you in either Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, or Adelaide physically, or you can live stream these all the way around the country. Till then, folks, bye for now.
Bye-bye.